Now let's see together how to prepare your workbook for distribution. Distribution means when your workbook is done, all your work with it is being completed, and you're getting ready to publish that workbook either through printing or through sharing online, sharing on social media, or even probably sharing with your employees, sharing with your upper management, and so on. Each one of those people have a probably different version of Excel. It could be a different platform. Even with the current days, he could be opening your document on a tablet or opening on a computer or opening on a mobile phone. So you want to make sure that the document that you're distributing is being distributed to the right audience. You understand what kind of hardware the audience to have and what kind of software they have. And as well, you understand if there's any disabled users that you want to consider before you distribute your workbook. Let's learn together how to prepare your document and how to check for any pitfalls or any incompatibility issues with your document before you share it, especially if your document is something important and is going to people that wouldn't give you a second chance to be able to review it and fix it. Even if your workbook is perfect, if the guy or the user who open your document see it in an unorganized way for whatever reason, it could be compatibility issue, could be design issue, could be hardware or software issue, he's gonna judge your workbook as being done not in the proper way, even though that's not the case. So you want to be careful about that and make sure your workbook is being displayed in front of the user in the way you imagined it and in the way you made it to look like. You have a workbook or a sheet. You want to make sure all compatibility issues are being avoided, and you want to make sure the distribution is being done as professional and as coherent as possible. The first step you gotta do is you go to File, then you go to Info, then here you can see the option of inspecting workbook. You check for issues. He say before publishing this file, be aware that it could contain or it contains document properties, document server properties, content type information. You could have footers somewhere that you didn't realize. You could have hidden columns that you forgot about, and it could have sensitive data. You could have custom XML data, content that people with disability could find difficult to read, and a setting that automatically removes properties and personal information when the file is saved. So it makes sense when, depending on how important that document is to go through this option of checking for issues. If you click on it, you have inspect document. You can see check accessibility and check compatibility. So checking compatibility is telling you if this document you are generating is supported by earlier versions of Excel or not. So if you have Excel 2019 or Excel 365 and you want to see if this document will open just fine with Excel 2007, this is the option to go. Checking accessibility, make sure the people with disability will be able to read the document as easy as possible if that is one of your users or a group of users that's going to use your document. Then you want to check the workbook for hidden properties or personal information. That is for inspect document. Let's start with inspect document. He say before you use the document inspector, make sure to save the changes because the inspector could remove the data that can't be restored later. Then it always makes sense to save. In my case, the document is not very important and it's already saved. So I'll hit no. So now the document inspector pop-up window is telling you to check that document for the selected content. Click inspect. So what is the inspector would be looking for? You can choose what he should be looking for, but usually he will select them all. So he will look for any comments that you have in your document and any document properties, personal information, and any hidden metadata or personal information saved within the document. Then the data model, it will inspect for embedded data that may not be visible on the sheet. Content, add-ins, task, pane add-ins, pivot tables, pivot charts, cube formulas, slicers and timelines, embedded documents, macros, forms, ActiveX controls, links to other files, real-time data functions, Excel surveys, defined scenarios, active filters, custom worksheet properties, hidden names, ink, that is standing for the option that Windows operating system is giving you to be able to write on the Excel sheet with a digital pen. If you have that and you need that to be there or not to be there, then you can choose to do that. Then you have long external references, custom XML data, headers and footers, hidden rows and columns, hidden worksheets, invisible content. Okay, he will inspect for all of that except the ink. It was unchecked, but you know why not? Let's check it as well. Inspect. Now he say no items were found regarding comments. You're good. Data model and all other stuff are good, except you have some XML data, you have headers and footers, you have hidden rows and columns, and you have document properties and personal information that are included. The problem here with this inspector, you put remove all, but you have no clue what he's talking about, like hidden rows and columns. Where are those? Maybe I have very important document. I just don't want you to remove things that could be related to something else that could hijack my document. But in this case, for the sake of inspection, we will try to remove all. Of course, you are the expert of your document. You know when you hide a column, probably if you see, oh, I have a hidden column, so I better go look back and see what that column is. Select all, unhide as we learned before, and see where that column is. If it's having sensitive information, I would remove. Is it linked to other data? Did it affect the whole document? And same for headers and footers, I would remove. Custom XML data, I would remove. In my case, of course. Then properties and personal information will be removed. You can re-inspect. Inspect again just to make sure. And he's telling you now you're good to go. So you can close the inspection pop-up window and you're good. Let's go back to check for issues. Now, what if we check for accessibility for disabled people? This is a better interface. So he's showing you on the side of the window. You have merged cells 11. So you have this invoice could be based to the logic of the inspector. He said those cells could be hard to read for the certain disabled people, and you can read through details. If I keep the checker running or not, then you can work on fixing that, and the checker will keep on and telling you if those problems are fixed or not. But for the time being, we'll go back to info, check for issues, check compatibility. That's the big thing. The other stuff are probably really minor and rarely being used. But checking for compatibility, if you are sending your document to a customer who have an older version of Excel, it makes sense to make sure that especially if you're using a newer version of Excel, that it can be compatible with the older versions. So he's telling you here, if the workbook is saved in an earlier file format or open an earlier version of Excel, the list features will not be available. So now select the version to show. You can see what versions you think this document should be compatible with. Let's choose them all, even though 97 to 2003 probably outdated. Remove 2007, 10, 13, and let's see what's gonna happen here. How about 16? How about 19? So there's no occurrences when you select none. But there is an issue here. One or more cells in this workbook contain a formula that has spilled or may spill in the future. These formulas will be converted into legacy array formulas, will not spill or change dimension in older versions of Excel. So that means the location is in the tab or in the sheet called invoice. So he say your problem is somewhere here. I'm not sure if he's highlighting most likely he's highlighting the cell with the problem. So you can go ahead and fix that. He say when you open it with an earlier versions, that reflects 97 all the way to 2019. this cell could be kind of, overdriven, or the Excel will be out of this, the text will be out of the cell, or the cell will not encapsulate the text within it and the equations attached to it. That should be no big deal. It's a formatting issue, can be fixed, or it will not like change big difference in the main document. But I mean, you could always or sometimes run into bigger problems that will hijack the whole formatting of the document and make it unreadable and unpleasant to see. So this is an option to keep an eye on. Compatibility. Before you generate your document, make sure it's compatible with older versions, make sure it's saved in a better way, make sure the format is being fixed the way it is, especially if it's a high sensitivity document.